friends, it's Sarah, the owner and maker behind Multifarious Nature. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you are a new viewer, welcome. And if you're a returning viewer, a big welcome back to you. I'm glad you guys are here for another video. We are going to get into all kinds of fun things today that I've been working on. And if you want to hear about any spinning adventures I've been doing, I'll talk about that after the knitting content. So no shop update, end of things today. I do have some items in stock. If you are looking for some fun new colorways to work on a project this summer, definitely swing on by the website and look at that. But otherwise, without further ado, we will get into the projects. So the first work in progress is my handspun project with Andrea Mowry's The Weekender. So I've been working on that one a little bit this week. Not as much because I really wanted to focus on my test knit that I need to work on. That definitely took priority because I want to make sure I get that done in a reasonable amount of time. It's not due until August, but I really want to be on top of that. I prefer to finish it in advance. That way I can give the designer, plenty of info. But did work on it a little bit this week. So this is the Weekender. It's now, of course, facing the right direction with the right side out. You can see the nice split hem and that beautiful slip stitch in the front. And I really like this detailing on the neck area. So it's interesting because when I look at hers that she worked on, it actually looks quite a bit more like there's more of this ribbing at the top, but I think it was just like an optical illusion because it's all the same color in hers. So now I'm working down the sleeve. So you can see I've made some nice progress with that. Getting those repeats in. Super, super soft. I think I'll be good with my yardage. What I did is I took the last bit that I had and I divided it. This is from the sleeve I'm currently working on. So that gives you an idea of how much I have left over to finish the sleeve with, which is kind of crazy because it's not a lot. It is not a lot. And I need to do a bit still down the sleeve. But I am almost done with the sleeve, so I think it definitely will be enough. I'm definitely getting more cohesive with my yarn, my spinning. It still has some thick and thin spots because it's hand spun. That's just how it goes. And I am not into having perfectly consistent yarn. I want it to look hand spun. And if I wanted perfect, like super cohesive yarn, I would buy commercial yarn, or mill spun yarn. Even mill spun can be more like hand spun sometimes. But it's really beautiful how it's doing this natural variegation to it, just because of how it was randomly spun. So I love it. I just love it. It is so, so soft. So soft. And I mean, I really haven't tried it on. I did put my arm through the sleeve so I could see how that fit, and it fits great. It's a little snug right here, but it's just snug as in it fits like a zero ease garment. Like it fits like a zero ease garment, which I think when I block it, I can like loosen it just a hair. And if it's just loosened a hair, I think it would just be better because I like my garments to have a little bit of wiggle room, especially if it's a sweater, because I like to wear them over t-shirts. T-shirts are pretty thin. It shouldn't cause much of an issue. But I think by blocking it just a little bit to hopefully loosening this just a little. Otherwise, I probably would have maybe when I would have maybe done like an extra set of stitches at the bottom of the armhole. If I had like my option to knit it, I probably would have done that. But I know there's a fit to this. It's very boxy and you want it to be like fitted in certain areas. so that it hangs right and looks right. So I'm definitely doing it according to the pattern. So we'll see how it goes. But I really like the length of it so far. It's going to grow probably just a little bit, like I said, when I block it. But it is woolen spun. So I think... Oh, my neighbor has his tractor out. Okay, so if it gets really loud, I'm so sorry. But my neighbor looks like he's running around doing stuff in his field with his tractor. And yeah, it might get noisy. Living out in the country, farmland, this is the kind of stuff that happens. It's really interesting to see the really cool, super large equipment come through though, but it's noisy. Anyway, so that's the progress on that one, and that's The Weekender, again by Andrea Mowry of Drea Renee and Knits. Now, the project I worked on the most this week in this fun little project bag, which I got recently. In my last video, I think I talked about it. So definitely hop on over there if you want to hear about it. But this is my test knit. The test knit is the Better Waverly by Taylor E. Owen. And I am not mid-row. Oh my gosh, that's a first. Okay. So let me get this kind of situated here. Guys, I've made some serious progress. Because, like I said, I focused on this primarily this week. Even on my lunch breaks, this was really what I worked on. So actually, I haven't done the sleeves yet. Sorry, no, my dog is barking at the neighbors. And there's never ending distractions in these videos, but I don't edit them, so here you go. This is what you get. So I am making some nice progress. I have now switched over to that second 2 balls of yarn that I'm holding double. This is my Ember colorway, Multifarious Nature's Ember. And yes, you can see the variegation here. I did hold it double, so it's still variegated or tonal, and then this is tonal as well, but you can see that change. Now, the interesting part is I'm doing the ribbing section now, and it kind of is close to where the ribbing section is. So I feel like it's going to be this nice gradation. So, and I always feel like, at least to me, when it comes to sweaters, if you're trying to go from a light to dark or something like that, it's best to go light to dark and do the dark at the bottom, because, I don't know, it's heavy, it's weighted, and you don't really, to me, you don't really want the dark weighted at the top and then get lighter. It just, I don't know. To me, that doesn't make a lot of sense. I've always made sweaters where it's light at the top and it gets darker at the bottom. Could just be me, but that just makes sense to me. So now I'm doing that ribbing, which you can see here. And going back and forth. So I'm just loving it. I love this pattern. It's so fun, and it knits up really quick because it's, you know, you're holding, well, I'm holding, it's basically worsted weight yarn is what you're doing, but I'm holding 2 rather fluffy fingering weight together, and I got gauge. There's the nice decreases going on, or decreases going on here on the side. So I really like the design that is creating. It's very beautiful. There's also this really nice raglan here. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. This is going to be a nice little staple piece that I can add to my collection. I love having cardigans. They're so versatile. You can wear them over dresses. You can wear them, I mean, just over cute little shirts. I like to wear them at work a lot because, I mean, in a lot of businesses, it's hard because in the summer they'll have AC going, or in that weird transition period, it's hard to tell temperature. So having a piece that you can take on and off like this would just be so wonderful, and it would be so cozy when it's chilly, especially with a little dress. So I'm so looking forward to it. I have another one that is, that was a one-of-a-kind color that I dyed up, that I made Taylor's other little cardigan. It's the Kingston cardigan. So I also very much recommend that pattern. But this one's going to be longer, which is great because the Kingston's cropped. So I love it. I'm loving it. I hope those of you that are also taking part in this test knit are enjoying it as well. And I do need to actually, after this video, after I'm done recording, I am going to pop on over to Ravelry and look at the projects that are on there, because I'd love to see your progress. It's just so much fun to see and interact with others that are also helping someone. Test knitting is definitely a labor of love. You're volunteering to help someone who is a designer. But the really cool part is then you get their pattern for free. So it's a really neat barter system is kind of the way I look at it. And I love it. So I'm really loving this pattern. My goal is to look through my vintage buttons that I have right now and find my buttons for this, because I know there's some in there that I'm going to use. I just have to find them. So that was The Better Waverly by Taylor E. Owen. It is currently not available because, as I mentioned, it's being test knit, but keep an eye out for that soon. All right, so we are going to get into the spinning content now. So I need to take a sip of my water. I have some hydration powder in here. It's good stuff. All right. So for those of you that are interested in spinning content, if you're not interested in spinning content, just the knitting, then, well, thank you so much for joining me today. And I look forward to chatting with you next week. But I'm going to get into spinning content now, so if you're not interested, I totally understand. But I do want to talk about the spinning now. So I worked on, like I said, my CVM fleece I've been working on for a bit to do a little sample to see how it spins up and all that good stuff. Well, I finished my sample. I didn't weigh it out. I just kind of went rogue. I just took a chunk of it, put it on my drum carder. That's all the prep that I did, other than obviously cleaning it. And this is what I got. It's really beautiful. It has nice loft to it. It's very lightweight. I did wool and spun, so it's very airy. I mean, you can see that beautiful airiness. It's gorgeous. So one thing you might also notice, this is what I've learned from my prepping of this, is that there's some little neps here and there. And while that's not a huge deal, and I don't mind the way that turned out, spinning it actually was a little tricky because of that. I would run into some of those neps and it would kind of get stuck. Might break while I was trying to work with it, and I'm like, gosh, that's frustrating. Well, and then I found when I plied it, I did 2-ply, and when I plied it, sometimes those neps would break, and then it would cause a break, which I definitely don't want that. That's going to cause a weak spot in the yarn. That's not good for strength consistency. It doesn't have to be overall consistent in the way like it looks, thick and thin. That's totally fine. However, when it comes to strength, I want strength to be consistent. Like, that's important. So that was something I did not like, and that's because I didn't prep it properly. But that's something you learn, and that's why you do samples. It's a really good, especially with a fleece, like something like a raw fleece that you're prepping. It's super important that you do this, because if you test it, then you'll actually know like how you need to actually prep it. So it's a learning curve. I am by no means an expert. I'm a very new spinner. So some of you are probably going, oh, I know. I know, it's like, Sarah, gosh. But it's beautiful though. It's a really pretty, it was a gray CVM fleece. It's variegated, of course, because many CVMs are not solid. And it's a California variegated mutant, for those of you that aren't familiar with CVM. But it's a really nice long staple length. And I'm going to show you as an example of the staple so I can help explain how I'm going to prep this going forward. I want to do a sweater spin of this. I have 6-pound fleece, so I have more than enough to make a sweater. And yeah, I'm really excited about it. So I'm going to prep this. I'm going to actually try to prep this properly. By properly, I mean kind of figure out my management of weight and everything. So hopefully I can have a really good idea of how much yarn I actually need to make. And this is the first time I'm actually trying to prep something, planning it that much for it. Usually I just spin the whole fleece and go for it, but I realized that this is a decent sized fleece and I might not need all of it for a sweater, so we'll see. All right, so this is a staple from this beautiful CVM fleece. One thing you'll notice is there's the variegation. You've got your light gray, you've got a darker gray in here. You also have the bleached tips. Now, bleached tips are super common in many sheep because a lot of them are not coated, and so the sun is going to bleach them. Now, that's not a huge deal, and I've spun up fleeces that had bleached tips, no problem. However, it does have a tendency to make them tippy. And what I mean by tippy, see, this is not a bad staple. It actually is really structurally sound if I pull on it, and you won't hear it, but it makes a pinging sound. It doesn't crunch, it doesn't crack, and these little ends are not breaking off. However, some of the ones that I worked with did break off. The little tips broke off and they became like little tippy neps, basically like little bits of wool that then created weak points in my yarn. And I don't want that. So that's why going forward, I'm going to take, I have a flicking brush, and I'm just going to take it and go over the ends and then go over both ends, the back and the front, in case there's any second cuts that it just didn't catch, and weak points. And that way I get it before I put it the drum carder, because then hopefully the parts that I drum carded that did not have the neps in it, it spun like a dream. I just was going to town. It was moving quickly. It was spinning nicely. It was smooth. It was wonderful. Look at that beautiful crimp, you guys. Oh my word. Is that not... If you want lofty, fluffy yarn, that's what you're looking for. That crimp. That crimp gives you that bounce back. And that, is, my friends, is why this beautiful yarn looks like this. Oh, when I was spinning it, I did my ply back test, and I was like, was so excited, because on a ply back test is when you're spinning and you do a nice decent length, and then you just fold it in half and let it spin back on itself, and you can see what it looks like. And I'm telling you, when I saw that, I got so excited. And that's why I knew I wanted to do a 2-ply. I really wanted that fluffy, beautiful yarn that really shows the wool. It shows that beautiful bounce back and the characteristics of the wool. And I have to say, I'm super excited about our sheep. I've been, feeling their fleece as I see them every day, and I'm really excited for next year being able to use their wool, because it's going to be beautiful. All right, so yeah, like that's my plan for the next, is to actually flick it first before I put it on my drum carder. And I think that's going to make a huge difference. I think it's going to look really nice. I think it's going to be more consistent with strength, and it's definitely going to be more consistent with spinning, because it'll be really easy. So I'm excited about it. Yeah, and I don't do a lot of spinning, but it is a really nice little treat to do once in a while. It's nice on my hands to change it up, because I do a lot of knitting. And at work, I do knitting on my lunch break. I can't do my spinning because I use a spinning wheel, and I don't do like supported spindle or anything. And as much as I'd like to do supported spindle, I don't think I'm going to, because I really don't need more, like more things to add to all of my wonderful hobbies. I have a decent amount of things, and it's constantly growing and evolving since I now have sheep. To me, that was kind of my full circle, getting the sheep, because now, I can actually grow the fiber, the wool, and then work with that wool. And it's a sustainable resource that'll keep coming back each year, hopefully. So that's exciting. All right. As far as life update end of things, like I said, the sheep are doing really good. I think the hardest part for the sheep at the moment, this is funny, it's kind of ridiculous, you guys, but they are pooping in their water dish. And so here's the thing. When we first brought them home, they were pretty small, and they could eat at their feeder and then go to their water dish, no problem. And we wanted the water to be semi near their food. Well, now we're finding that to be a slight problem. They've grown, and now they're to the point that if one of them decides to push themselves to the corner of the feeder and eat, their butt, their bum, literally is up against the water. And it's like right there. The water is here, the bum is right here, and I'm like, well, All it takes is them to lift their tail, and there goes, and they literally poop right in their water. And I've discovered this a couple mornings now. When I go out there, I have to empty their water, clean it out, and then fill it, which is not the end of the world, but it's hard when I'm trying, because I do this before I go to work in the morning. So I'm trying to do it as efficiently as possible, but when that kind of thing happens, it's quite frustrating. And then I don't know how long it's been that way. So if it's been that way since the middle of the night, they've either been drinking that water like that, or they haven't been drinking water, which isn't good. They need to be able to drink water. So it's not ideal. And we do have an idea about possibly moving the water to a different part in their little hut, which is fine. We could do that, but we are limited to how far we can really move that at the moment. And it's a little tricky. It's a little tricky. It's posing to be tricky. Now, granted, they're going to get bigger. And the good part about when they get bigger is then they won't really be able to put themselves into that corner like that. So then hopefully they'll stop pooping in their water. I keep telling them that every 2 seconds. I go in there, if they poop in there, I'm like, why did you poop in your water? I don't know. Maybe they'll learn. I don't know. I'm really hoping that this isn't going to be such an issue, because water is super important for them to have as well as food. So it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. Anyway, the chickens and ducks are doing really well. They're so hilarious, and their little pond needs to be cleaned out. They've made it a mess and a half. So we've got to do that, and that's a lot of work. We have this little pond in our garden area that's probably 4 feet wide. I'd say around 4 feet-ish wide in all directions, and then it's about 2.5 feet deep in the deepest portion. So it's not huge, but the ducks love it. So we have 2 ducks, and they love it. So they go in there, but yeah, it's just a thing. Oh, the other thing with the sheep that I have to stay on top of is apparently we have milkweed growing out there in the pasture, which is a little obnoxious, I have to say, because I know from my understanding it's not good for sheep. It's toxic. So every time I go out there, I'll go down to that area that has it, and I just go through and pull them up. And I hope by me doing that, it'll die back. But I know the sheep have gotten into it, because I've seen 1 or 2 milkweeds here and there that are bit off at the top. And I'm thinking, gosh, they're trying to poison themselves. But they're babies, they're young. They don't know any better. And it's it seems edible to them. It's not edible. You would think it wouldn't taste good, it'd be bitter or something, but they keep coming back for more, so I gotta keep pulling that up. Anyway, I think that's it for this week. There's not too much going on, it's a lot of outdoor stuff, a lot of weeding. I need to do a lot of weeding in the garden. Oh, our strawberries came in. That's exciting. Actually, last year we did not get much of a crop of strawberries, and this year we have tons, and they're so good. They're little, they're not big, but they taste delicious, and they taste like the sun, they taste like the sunshine. It is so good. So I love that. And then our blueberries are definitely coming in. They just obviously have to ripen still. It's not exactly blueberry season yet, but they're getting there. So we'll have blueberries, and I'm hoping that the chickens don't eat them again, because last year the chickens discovered the blueberries, and they were literally jumping in the air with their little wings and flapping up so that they could grab blueberries. I'm really? Little buggers. So they're so naughty. I guess we could put some fencing around it. I don't really want to, though, but if we have to, I guess we'll have to. But yeah, lots of good stuff going on. Lots of veggies popping up. The peas look like they're going to be really good. The green beans, oddly, the green beans came up really odd. I planted 4 rows of it, and only 2 rows have come up. So that's odd. But we'll see what that's all about. And then we've got squash, beets. I have rutabagas. The carrots don't look like they're coming in. So I don't know what happened there, but the carrots were just kind of not having it. So we'll see. that might be completely lost cause, the carrots. What else? Oh, there were some potatoes still apparently that were under the ground. So the potatoes are coming in a lot, and they're basically competing with. I have Brussels sprouts and okra in the same bed. So I really hope that some of those survive, because right now they're underneath the canopy of potato leaves that are sticking up. It's unbelievable, which isn't great because then, the the sun's really not getting to them. So that's a little tricky. Trying to navigate all of that. It's a whole thing. The tomatoes seem to be doing well this year so far. I'm really excited. I hope that they're going to be good. Because I rotated the beds. I moved it to a different spot of raised bed. I put it where the green beans were, and I put the green beans where the tomatoes were. So I'm hoping they'll kind of help kind of cancel each other, and it'll all be good, because there was tomato blight going on last year. That was not good. So yeah, we'll see how it all goes, but it's exciting. I love fresh produce. The asparagus is kind of, I let it go to seed because I just could not keep up with it. So any that is coming up, if we're doing a meal and I can just grab what's coming up, I'll do that. But otherwise, I'm not. I'm being bad. This year has really snuck up on me. We got a lot going on. I'll share more about that in the future here. I know I keep saying that, and I'm sorry. It's been a wild ride, and there's a lot I want to share with you guys too. But it's just in due time, I will share with you guys. But it's been a lot. So safe to say, the asparagus is going to seed. I am just not sticking up with it this year. But I think this is kind of close to the time of year where you do that anyway. You don't want to over pick your asparagus. You want to let it get some nutrients for the next year so that you'll get a nice crop next year. I think this is my 4th year with asparagus. I think it's 4-year-old asparagus. So they're a big producer now. In the beginning, you don't want to really pick from them. I think my understanding is like the first 2 years, I don't think you're supposed to pick from them. You're supposed to let them get the sun and everything, so that way they can get some power to produce lots of good quality veg. But anyway, that's it. And now I'm just blabbing, but I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your week, and I hope beautiful weather by you. It is it's gorgeous right now. We actually have blue sky. I'm actually recording on Saturday morning, so we'll see when this gets up, because this week has just been a thing. So I didn't get to record when I normally do. As I said, we were outside a lot working on stuff, so I just didn't have time. But it's beautiful at the moment. It's supposed to rain all day, so we'll see what happens. But at the moment, it's quite nice. It looked like it was going to rain this morning, but maybe it will rain this afternoon, and I'll be able to get some stuff done outside this morning. Who knows? Again, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week, that you take care and stay healthy, and I'll talk to you soon.